All right. So, something else just came to mind, and I felt like I just needed to remind, TIs who's struggling with, the slander campaigns and everything. Now, you got to remember, slander campaigns, character assassinations, that's been around for centuries. You can go farther back behind, you can go farther than the Nazi regime. You can go probably even farther back from the Roman Empire when and how they used to basically slander the original Christians and for, whatever, and blaming them for why, things are wrong with society and everything like that. You got to remember, we are living in a completely digitalized world. If you just do searches on how artificial intelligence or how the infosphere or the basically the look into the Internet of Things, like what is it? It's like, I gotta find where did I see it, but basically everything is connected in some way, shape, or form. Everything from like the devices in your hand to your actual body to the information that's being transmitted from satellites. Everything is connected. Why? Because it's all using electric and bioelectric data transmissions. So think about it like this. We live in a world where, and I'm sure you probably heard this statement before, those who control the information control the population. If you can control what a person receives as information, you can control what that person may think or do. If you can control what that person sees, then you can control how that person will, respond or react to, the world around them. Think about, all right, you gotta realize, and there's so much truth to all this. If you actually look into the interviews of writers for most films, television shows that are considered science fiction, look into interviews of the writers. Look at where they get their influence from. A lot of the ways that writers and directors, thank you. A lot of the information that writers and directors get their information from is from the very things that we see here in our everyday lives. Whether we realize it or not, they know, trust me, they know about secret society. They know about the information warfare. They know about all this. And they're writing about it, but they make it seem like it's something fun or something interesting. They're sensitizing everyone, right? So you gotta remember that there's information that's out there that we don't know about. There's technology that's out there that not everybody know about. If you haven't figured it out yet, the world is augmented already. We're to a point where they are, like, I believe they got to a point where they are projecting or stimulating certain parts, or maybe they've unlocked certain parts of the visual cortex to where they can see, a broader spectrums of light, or their body is actually receiving more, I guess, energy absorptions or whatever. But the nanotechnology also helps with all of this too. So it kind of brings me back to my last video about how humanity is so-called trying to protect the earth from the sun's rays, but in actuality, they're not protecting the earth from the sun's rays, because the earth has been able to protect itself from the sun for centuries. But it's humans who are destroying the earth, that's also weakening the earth. But not that alone. When you think about chemtrails, they're spraying micro and nanometals, like these micro metals that gets ingested and breathed into our system so that our bodies become highly conductive. As our bodies become more highly conductive, imagine if the sun gives off a strong enough solar flare, anyone who is not like detoxing like heavy metals from their body, or they're not trying to detox like nanotechnology from their body, if the sun gives off a strong enough solar flare, they will literally fry from the inside out. Why? Because their bodies have become super conductive. This is why they're spraying more of these particles, trying to say that they're blocking the sun's rays, but in actuality, they're protecting their, future investment into like digital slavery, And as we become even more, digitalized and transhumanized, they're actually going to prevent people from finding more, like basically they're going to prevent people from being able to seek information that's necessary for survival, right? Imagine in a world where there's no more books, and every piece of information that you get, it will have to be downloaded into you, but then there's going to be a cost, some type of cost. And information is going to be privatized, or it's going to be monetized in a sense that it's never been monetized before, to the point where if you don't make a certain amount of money, then you're not going to be able to have access to certain information. Rather, with the internet that we have now, you have access to all kinds of information without even having to really lose anything. All you just need is internet connection and a little internet savviness on how to search for things. So you also got to remember, like I said before, the entire world is already digitalized and augmented. So think about it like this: when people are like finding themselves staring at you and whatnot, that is because as I'm talking, my bike just keeps messing up. So you gotta remember Pokemon Go. So imagine it like Pokemon Go, or there's actually an episode of Black Mirror where there's a scene or an episode rather, where someone is able to basically see certain criteria about specific people, and they're able to see certain criteria about specific people, their health status, how much money they make, just by looking at them, because they have, I guess, what you would call like consider it like some type of what's the word I'm looking for? How do I describe it? It's like basically they have it's like a whole process. It's like a computerized processor in their mind to the point where like all they have to do is think to control the computer itself. So if they want to pull up tabs and whatever, all they have to do is just think to pull up this tab, and they can see certain information, things like that. They already have this going now. They already have this happening now. Now, the other thing is, you got to remember, is that's exactly what they're doing. Is like they basically have it to the point where they can just literally look at you and see whatever information that is already implanted on you or in you, even though you don't have access, or they're not allowing you access to be able to, see this digital augmented world that's already happening. They basically are already exposing much of your life, whether you realize it or not. This is like, all you have to do is look up Steve Hoffman. Steve Hoffman's been talking about it for years now. And then Dr. Yuval something. He's like an Israeli transhumanist expert in something else. I forgot. Steve Hoffman, Dr. Yuval something, and then James Giordano. These three people know exactly what the hell is happening, and they're giving they're giving conferences. They're talking about this technology, trying to make it seem like it's not already here. But everybody who knows about the CIA knows a lot of this technology is already being used. And then the sad part is, as we continue on, remember, the universe the universe is paying attention to everything that's happening on Earth. The universe is paying attention to everything that's happening on Earth. Just remember, the sun the sun is like God's key weapon against all things that, humanity try to do to basically see if it can advance itself past what God destined for us. We are supposed to just be organic matter. We're supposed to be all organic. Nothing about us is supposed to have machines or metals or anything like that in us. This is why for decades they've been poisoning us and calcifying our pineal glands and doing everything they can do to suppress us from ever ascending to a certain spiritual level. Because as we ascend, we're going to actually understand the power that we actually truly possess as, spiritual electromagnetic beings. There's a lot of things that we should be able to do as spiritual beings, even in our flesh, but we've been poisoned for so many decades, none of us truly know. And it's hard for any of us to truly actually understand how powerful we really are, because none of us really know how to detox the poisons that they've been putting in us for so many years. Genetically, our genes have been modified to a point where, we're like lesser versions of ourselves. Even though we somehow are considered more intelligent than our former selves, our ancestral selves, yet our ancestral selves were a lot more powerful than what we are today. We may be smarter today, but we are also at the same time weakened, but I'm gonna end it on there, but trust and believe, I'm gonna start doing like some video screen recordings of some of the videos of some of these experts and these doctors and these scientists who are talking about these things. And I want everyone to know I'm not just talking, I'm doing the research, because there are scholars who are talking about the same thing that I'm talking about. And it seems like everyone else, I am definitely not accepting no bullshit ass propaganda slander campaign that's trying to say that I'm crazy or anyone who's being targeted or electronically harassed is crazy. Because if there are scholars talking about this very same technology that's being used against us, come on now, are they crazy too? Anyway, remember, take life one breath, one thought, one step, one day at a time. Peace.